Alright, so this video is going to be a comparison of the Moto G Stylus 2024 versus the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. So I have owned the S25 Ultra for about 9 months now. I think I got it in January of this year, 2025. Owned the Moto G Stylus 2024 a few weeks now, and I just wanted to compare what these two are and what's sort of different about them, because they both have a stylus, which is a kind of a rare thing for a smartphone these days. Not a whole lot of smartphones have styluses that you can actually draw and write notes on the screen. Now, obviously, this is not an apples to apples comparison. It's definitely an apples to oranges comparison, but the biggest difference here, I think, between these two models is the price. I paid close to $1,400, I think, at the time when it came out brand new. Obviously, right now this is a lot cheaper. I got the increased storage. I think this is a 512 gigabyte storage version, so I paid extra for this one. And this one here, the Moto G Stylus 2024, you can get the 256 gigabyte version for $200 unlocked, and the 128 gigabyte version for $180 unlocked, and they're both on Amazon. Links in the description. So obviously there's a huge price gap between these two, and as someone that's been using the S25 Ultra for 9 months now, it's like, was it really worth spending the extra money? And I think it kind of depends on who you are and what your use case is. Now, for a lot of people, the stylus is probably not important. A lot of people aren't going to care about being able to write notes on the screen. But if that is something you care about and you don't want to spend, $1,000 plus on an S25 Ultra, I can tell you that the Moto G Stylus 2024 is probably like 85-90% of the functionality of the S25 Ultra. And obviously the price difference and what you get for the price basically boils down to specs and hardware. So you're going to get a higher resolution screen on the S25 Ultra, more RAM, more storage, everything's faster. The processor is much faster. It's like it's a flagship processor. It is top of the line. And so performance and battery life and all those things aren't going to be an issue with the S25 Ultra. Now with the Moto G Stylus 2024, you have some compromises to get that lower price point. So you have a lower resolution screen, but it's still a 1080p panel. It is an OLED panel, but not quite as nice as the, I think this is almost a 4K panel on the S25 Ultra. So, they're going on a lower cost panel. Get a little bit less memory. So this one comes with 8 gigabytes of memory. My S25 Ultra came with 12 gigabytes of memory. Of course, this is less storage. The one I've got here actually has the 128 gigabyte option. So that's unlocked. It comes in at $180. I will explain a little bit later in the video how I got this for really cheap. Like I paid $30 for this, and if you want to know how I did that, I'll explain that in a little bit later in the video. But it's a lock right now to one of the Verizon MVNOs. So that is one of the drawbacks to getting it subsidized. You're paying less, but there's things you have to kind of get around. And again, I'll explain that a little bit later in the video. But in terms of the performance, it's got a mid-range processor on here. It is a Snapdragon 6 Gen 1. So it's not as fast as the Snapdragon 8 Elite, of course, on the S25 Ultra. That's why you're not paying as much. But in terms of raw performance, you still play games, and it's got performance enough for most people. It's just not for the very high-end people. So if you need the very top-end performance, then unfortunately you do have to pay the money for that. That kind of comes with the territory. But again, this is not a formal review of the Stylus 2024. This is more of a comparison between these two and why you get more with the S25 Ultra. The question is, for you, are those specs and having it being a little bit faster and a little bit better, is that worth the extra money to you? That's the question. Now, another big aspect of the differences here are the cameras. The cameras are superior on the S25 Ultra, and you also get, a telephoto lens. I think it's a 5x lens. On the Stylus 2024, you only get a standard 1x camera. It's 50 megapixels, and you get an ultra wide, and I think you get a macro, and that's it. The camera quality is okay. It's so. It's, again, this is a mid-tier spec phone. Now, Motorola is known for making more budget phones, and I can go into how this compares to some of the entry-level phones from the Motorola line, like the standard entry-level Moto G, or maybe like the Moto G Play from previous years. I do have those phones, and I may make videos on that if you're wondering about what you get in terms of differences. Basically, this is a probably the highest end spec Moto G in the Moto G lineup for this year, and I know that there's a 2025 version of this out as well. I'll make a separate video on that one. I don't have that one yet, but I do plan to get one. And the difference between the 2024 and the 2025, I'm not going to get into in this video, but it's not a whole lot. But the price difference is still pretty big between the 2024 and the 2025. For basically the same, the 256 gig storage version, it's $200 for the 2024, but it's $400 for the 2025. Of course, if you're watching this video in the future, then the prices have probably changed, and I'm sure that price will come down. But I will have a separate video covering those differences between the 24 and the 25 in this lineup in another separate video. But bottom line is, I think for 80% of the people that need a stylus and you want to write on the screen and take notes, the functionality is very, very similar to the S25 Ultra. I did notice that when using the pen, there is a slight bit of lag compared to the S25 Ultra because there's a difference in the digitizer technology between the pens between these two. But I don't really write super fast, so not a big deal for me. If you are one that tends to scribble super quick, then you'll notice the lag a little bit more because it is it's slightly more inexpensive technology compared to what you get on the S25 Ultra. And again, that accounts for the price difference. But for most people, using this phone is going to suffice. I think it's going to do most of the things that you want to do. And I do like the fact that the pen is on the right side here instead of on the left side on the S25 Ultra. I'm right-handed, so I'm biased in that way. And you get the same sort of pop-up menu here where you can, collect notes and, grab screenshots. There's an interesting handwriting calculator you can bring up here, and you can do things like this, and it will figure that. Oh, I thought that was pi squared, so you can do 2 plus 2, and it tries to interpret your handwriting. So you can do handwriting calculation. I'm not sure if the S25 Ultra has that. It's kind of interesting. And now, of course, I got this from Total Wireless. So I'm going to explain how I got this for $30. Right now, they have a special where you can pick this up. Basically, it'll be locked to Total Wireless, and then all you have to do is just, I think you just have to give your driver's license. You have to basically prove your identity or something like that. I did have to scan my driver's license in the sign-up process. And you do have to buy 1 month of service, and it was $30 for the cheapest plan with data. And then once you do that, they'll basically ship you the phone. If you want to get this unlocked, you need to buy 1 more month of service, so an additional $30. So for $60 total in 60 days, I will have an unlocked phone, which is equivalent. This is equivalent to the $180 version that's on Amazon right now. But if you don't want to deal with those unlocking hassles, then I would recommend just buying the unlocked version. Then there's no hassles. You can just put whatever SIM you want in there. You don't have to wait. But for me, I'm like, I'm willing to pay less and just kind of wait, because I do have a standard, obviously, phone that I use on a daily basis. But I have been using this. The performance is very good. Obviously not as good as the S25 Ultra. That's flagship quality. This is mid-range quality performance. But if you're mostly just taking notes, recording some videos, taking some photos, casual stuff, and doing some basic apps and maybe some light gaming, this one will be perfectly fine for you. And between the two, the 24 and the 25 of the Stylus lineup, I'll get into that in a future video once I have those in hand. But as far as I remember, They did a slight spec bump on the 25 compared to the 24, so obviously they want people to try and upgrade, but in my opinion, probably not really worth it if you already have this, but obviously I'm going to get that so I can do that video and compare the 24 to the 25 and sort of give you an idea which one you get if you're in the market for one. You may want to just wait for the price of the 25 to come down. But yeah, I mean, that's, again, the bottom line, the S25 Ultra, it's awesome. One of my favorite phones of all time. I use it every day. It's my daily driver. Do I need that performance? I would say that if I didn't have the money, which obviously I'm not in a bind and I'm not on a budget in terms of cell phones and smartphones, I, wouldn't necessarily get the Stylus and Motorola G Stylus 2024. Yeah, it's cheaper, but for people on a budget, this could be a better option for you instead of maybe getting the S25 Ultra and then making monthly payments. You can obviously go that route. Samsung does have some good programs for doing monthly payments, but then you're paying this phone off for like 2 years, I think is what it is. Whereas this phone is going to be completely paid off, and the performance difference again. I think for most people, you'll be happy with the Moto G Stylus, but I think for those of you that are, want the very best performance, I would suggest then, go for the S25 Ultra and the extra cost. Just, again, it really kind of boils down to what your needs, your circumstance, and obviously it's just going to depend on who you are and what you use it for. Again, I'll have a video on the 24 versus the 25 a little bit later, and that'll do it for this video. I'll have links to both these phones down in the video description in case you want to check out the current prices. And yeah, questions, comments, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.